All right, lines two, or sorry, 526 to 566. Big chunk of lines here, detailing the death of Priam. This is definitely a tough part of the story here in terms of its gruesomeness and how sad it is. But anyways, the story, obviously, the Greeks enter the city and take it over rather swiftly as there are no guards, and it's the city's being attacked and burned to the ground, and everyone's dying. Obviously, some people wake up here, and we have the kind of like the death throes moment of a straight fight for survival, but it's not going well. Aeneas wakes up, having been woken up by Hector himself as a ghost. Hector's ghost visits him and commissions him to save the remnants of the city and just get out of there, go essentially to Italy. It's kind of the start of his journey here. Hector sets him off on the course. Um, Aeneas, as a typical hero does, ignores Hector's directions and decides that he's going to go try to fight to the death to save his city from the Greeks. This whole effort eventually brings Aeneas and his followers to the center of Troy at the citadel, where they've climbed to the top of the palace and are throwing off shingles to try to divert the Greeks from entering into the palace itself. Nonetheless, Achilles' son, Neoptolemus, or Pyrrhus, whatever you want to call him, is engaged in a mass manslaughter within the palace itself. And so that's where we pick up here. So at the palace here, Aeneas, he's looking in through a hole in the roof to observe what's going on here. So behold, however, Polites here, one of the sons of Priam, the king of Troy, Elapsus, having escaped from the Caidae, the slaughter of Pyrrhus, having escaped through the spears, through the enemy here, Istem. He runs down the long hallways, and he surveys, he looks at the empty halls. He looks at this Sauki, so he's wounded, um, ardently or burning Pyrrhus here. This is Neoptolemus. He pursues, burning with a festering wound, he pursues that man, Polites. Now and now, he holds with his hand and he presses with his spear, I assume Polites. The Yamque, I think, is maybe implying Polites being stabbed by Pyrrhus, the Yam there. Um, uh, uh, when finally, when finally, before the eyes and the faces of his parents, he escaped. He fell, and he pours out this Polites. He pours out his spirit, multo cum sanguine, with much blood. Here, Priam, although uh, now he is held in the midst of death, he does not, however, abstain, nor does he spare, I think, Pyrrhus, does he spare Pyrrhus of his voice and his anger. So he exclaims, but for you, for a crime, for such for such audacity, essentially, the gods, if there is any, so qua here is Ali qua, oops, Ali qua. So if there is any devotion in heaven, which the which cares, Talia, for such things, for you, the gods, they should resolve or grant back worthy thanks, and they should return owed rewards. It's a subtle threat here of saying, hey, for what you're doing here, of this violence and murder, Neoptolemus, I hope the gods get you back for this. You who, qui, you who, Facisti, have made me to watch or to see Leitum, the death nati of my son, or maybe to see in my presence, right? In my presence, yeah. And you who fodasti, you who marred or mangled or defiled, um, fatherly vultus is as fourth declension, so a fatherly face, funere with death. Uh, but not that guy, Achilles, um, from whom uh, you, mentirus, you falsely claim that te, indirect speech, that you, satum esse, you falsely claim to have been begotten or to have been born. Um, Achilles was Fuit. He was of such a sort, maybe like here towards an enemy as me, Priam, but he Arubuit, he like grew red, or more so here, like blushed at, or had respect for. I think he had respect for rights. Achilles did, your father, and trust of a suppliant, of someone begging. And he redid it. Next line here. He returned Hector's body, his bloodless body, for burial, and he sent me back to my kingdom. So at the end of the Iliad, Achilles agrees, as Priam sneaks out at the very end to go beg for Hector's body to be returned by Achilles, and Achilles is so moved by the bravery of Priam that he agrees to do so, and also safely returns the king back to his city unharmed. So, thus, having spoken, the elder man having spoken thus, and he conjectured, he throws a spear, an imbelle spear, like a wordless spear, a spear that's never seen war. He throws this spear, sine ictu, without striking, a spear which repulsum, and maybe repulsum est, which was brandished off or cast aside from the racuo aire, so from Pyrrhus's like clanging bronze armor. And the spear here, it hung in vain from the umbone, from the boss, from the highest boss of his shield. To him, this is now to Priam, Pyrrhus, I assume, Dixit, he spoke. So here Pyrrhus has a rather coarse thing to say. He says, Referes, first to say the rest are you, Priam, you will therefore relate these things. And Nuntius maybe so like, as the messenger, you will go to my father, Genitori Pylade, the son of Peleus, to him, to Achilles, my dad. Um, uh, Memento, this is a command. Remember narrare, to tell. Remember to tell or relate. Tristia facta, the sad deeds, and tell him about degenerate Neptolemus, how what a degenerate his son has become. Nunc morere, now die. It kind of harkens back to what Achilles said to Hector, actually. Saying this, Troxit here, this is Neptolemus, he drags. Trementem here is implying Priamum. So he drags a trembling Priam. He drags him to the altars themselves. And again, Priamum, and he drags the man slipping in much blood of his son. He enwraps, this is Pyrrhus doing this, he enwraps his hair. So he enwraps Priam's hair with his left hand. So he's dragging him by the hair here, with it wrapped around his arm. And he, with his right hand, so he does that with his left, and with his right hand, he pulls out his coruscum ensem, his glittering sword, and he hides that sword up to the hilt. So tenus is like up to, and capulo is the hilt. So up to the hilt in Priam's side. This, and maybe like Arat, this was the end of Priam's fates. Uh, this exit, this death, uh, took that man by lot. That man seeing Troy burning and Prolapsum Parmaga and seeing Troy, again, Pergama is the citadels of Troy. So again, just Troy and seeing Troy Prolapsa having collapsed. Let's see. Here, this is all modifying Ilum, again, all referring to Priam. So once, quondam, once a ruler, tot populis, for so many peoples and so many, well, I guess a proud ruler, right? For so many peoples and lands, Asiae of Asia. He lies, or rather, a truncus lies. Ingens truncus, a large trunk of a body, lies on the shore, on the beach, and a head ripped, a volsum from its shoulders, and a corpus, a body, sine nomine, body without a name. So um, Neptolemus here, he not only kills Priam, but also beheads him so that his body is unidentifiable on the beaches. It's pretty terrible. All right, 560 up Stipui. So again, this is now returning back to Aeneas. Remember, he witnessed all of this just happen through a hole in the roof. You remember he's telling this whole story to Dido. I stood amazed. The image, though, of my dear father, Subbit, approached. Let's see. Yeah, how a king of equal age, how I saw a king of equal age, exhalantem, breathing out his life, crudeli vulnere, from a cruel wound. Not only does the image of my father, but also abandoned Creusa, who's his wife, approached, and uh, my abandoned home, and the misfortune of little Iulus, my son Ascanius. I look back and I survey quae copia, what troops there are sit around me. Notice the hyperbaton there may before the preposition. This is also subjunctive because the indirect question. 565, desu erunt there implied, right? Shortened form. They all here, my entire retinue of men here, they've abandoned me, right? They've deserted, tired, wearied out, and oh, this is sad. Misere, again, another shortened form, miserunt. They've cast down their bodies with a leap to the earth. So they jumped off the roof and, yes, took their lives. Or diderunt, they gave, uh, again, their bodies, their tired bodies, to the flames. If you're a Roman reader and hearing this, yes, obviously this would evoke any kind of emotion, anyone hearing such a thing, but this is also hearkening to historical events of the Third Punic Wars, with not so much the fall of Troy, but here the fall of Carthage. A similar thing happened for the last holdout of the Carthaginians in the palace, as they did, yes, take their lives by jumping into fire.